Welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. This podcast is for those who seek answers from above, guidance and magical inspiration.
Immerse yourself in the realms of magic, angels, fairies, unicorns, dragons, and so much more. I'm Kirsty Jandrell, and I'm delighted to be here with you today.
And I am Kate Rajba.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. Happy 2025. This is our first recording in 2025, and it's extra special today because we've got dual guests. We've got two guests, one of whom is our beautiful regular co-host, Kate, who is joined by the amazing Lynn Hilary. And just to introduce Lynn, Lynn is a singer, a songwriter, a vocal coach, and she's also writes beautiful poetry. And we're here today to talk about her latest publication called Nettle Tea, which our beloved Kate has beautifully illustrated. So it's a beautiful collaboration that we're here to celebrate today. And I can't wait to dive in to find out more about the process. I actually so lucky to read the book, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And the symbiotic nature of both of your gifts, just so gorgeous. So welcome, Lynn, and welcome back, Kate.
Thank you. Delighted. I love this podcast. I listen to it all the time, so I'm delighted.
Oh, thank you. That's so lovely. So, welcome. Could you start, Len, by just telling us a little bit about the Nettle Tea, and what inspired its creation initially, please?
So I had forgotten that I used to write poetry when I was in school, and I think I had a knack for it. I was trying to remember today. I remember we had like a yearbook, and people would sign things, little messages to you, and a few people had put, "Oh, keep writing poetry," and I only had that memory today. And then for some reason, just life, the last 2 decades of life in particular, I just forgot. I forgot that I wrote poetry. And I suppose I thought, well, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, music is my thing. Therefore, I suppose that just took the center stage. So I decided this year to take a sort of a break from the music, and I guess I assume creativity in general, and do, other things, and I'm really interested in other things. And I love the sort of the wellness arena. That really kind of drew me in. But I remember me and my sister went to the Hill of Ishnock, which is a really sacred ancient space in Ireland, and it's called the belly button of Ireland. So it supposedly has a lot of energy. And I didn't know if I believed in any of that stuff, but I just thought, I have to go. And I said to my sister, let's go. So they said you can leave the goddess of Eru is buried there, and you can leave her a gift. So I left her, happened to have a little rose quartz in my pocket, crystal. So I left her, I buried it under the ground, and I said, okay, look, give me something. If maybe you'd like to give me something, and I'll receive it, and thank you. And I just felt really, I remember saying to myself when I walked in, I thought I'd love to switch my brain off if I can. I'd love to take this in while switching the brain off. And the line came to me, how, like, to be really humbled, like, can I humble myself? And then the line came, how humbled could I be? And then with that, the whole of that poem, which is called How Humbled Could I Be, just went and just downloaded into my brain. And it like, not that fast, but like it came over probably an hour. And we had a lovely time. But on the way home, I had to pull the car over. The poem was like put me down on, write me. And was like, okay. And I pulled over the car and I pulled into like a B&Q or something. And the whole poem just came. And then with that, I'd say a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, they just all arrived as little gifts. And I was just catching them going, thank you. There's another one. Thank you. Just grabbing these poems from the air. So, and then me and Kate were talking anyway, and I thought I'd love to put some pictures. And with that, it just came together really very quickly and very naturally and so flowy. It was just so flowy. So I can't, it's amazing to have something in your hands that literally feels like it's from there, like pulling down things. So yeah. So I guess I should credit the goddess of Eru. I forgot to do that, but she gave me a gift, I think.
Oh, I love that, and I love when you mentioned goddess of Eru. When I would approach her, that's exactly how I would feel her. Like flowy, dancing around, nothing to be trapped, nothing to be caught. Very flowy energy that dances all around. And but coming back to the title, Lynn, because we've got all of the poems, we've got all of the little jigsaws inside, but the title is quite evocative, Nettle Tea. Can you share the story behind the title?
I had a few ideas, and I was walking through a lovely old, dirty old ruin of a place, and there was nettles everywhere and old stones, and I had been thinking to myself, I really want to get into nettles this year. I've been thinking I want to put them in, so I've been putting them in soup, and I've been because I remember some what do you call those guys, the horticulturists, people who know about nature. Anyway, he was showing me a few natural things on the ground, and the plantain and the meadow sweet, and he said you can pick the nettle, and he showed me how. Now, of course, I couldn't do it without getting stung, but he says he said it's not a sting, it's an acid, and he said if you ball it up really quickly, you can make a little ball out of it, eat it like a sweet. It's delicious. You just disperse the thing that hurts, whatever hurts you in the nettle, you can pretty much disperse that pretty quickly. Just rub it together or put it in a tea or a soup. This thing it's not like a thorn, it's something else. I think it's a tiny droplets of acid. I could be wrong about that. And I just love that metaphor, that this thing that's really sore, if you get it and you're unconscious about it, you just let it get you, then it hurts. But if you're conscious and okay, this is a plant, it's doing what it does, and you're careful, you can make tea. And I love nettle tea, and I love putting nettle in soup, just chucking it into a soup. And I love the taste of nettle tea. I just think it's got an unusual flavor, and it's medicinal in some ways, I'm sure. I'm not sure what it does, but I just like that metaphor of, or the, what would that be? The paradox, I suppose, that this thing that hurts can also be your medicine.
How would that?
So I thought
how would that be relevant with the poems, Lynn? How is that? What's the message through? Why is that? Why is there a significant? Significant?
Because life is full of stings, and it's how we deal with them, isn't it? It's like right now with the bit of a car accident and the whiplash, and it's all I have is it is all difficulty, and I'm annoyed and this isn't working out, and it's I wish this didn't happen. But again, what I've learned now, what I'm trying to learn over the last few years is when something difficult happens, how can I alchemize this into a lesson or something whereby I'm better for it, because we're too quick to label things as bad, and I wish that didn't happen. It's not my plan, and why did she say that to me, and why did that happen? When actually that could have been the best thing that could have happened. God, you got fired from your job. Oh no, it's the end of the world. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's the best thing that could have happened to you, So it's all about changing the attitude on it, handling it differently, looking at it differently, spinning it around and saying, okay, I think this is bad. Well, let's have a closer look. Is it bad? Well, not necessarily, So yeah, I just like that analogy, that metaphor.
Yeah, I love that. It's sort of, sort of seeing things happening for you rather than to you, you know, that old sort of law of
Yeah.
attraction spinning things on its head like that to and receiving that medicine. So that's such a beautiful title. I was intrigued straight away when I saw it. I thought, we've got to ask her that. So that's beautiful. So Lynn, what when you
Good.
talk about the nettle tea, and obviously that's there's a link there to your poetry, would you say there are certain central themes throughout the book for the poems, are the little threads that tie them all together?
Yeah, you know what's funny is that I found that a theme that seems to come back, at least for me, and other people are coming to me saying they read something else into it, which I love. But what came to me was this idea of, say, say the duality of the mind, and you're trying to work out a problem with your mind, but then you got your heart, and that's a totally different way to work out a problem. Is what your feelings or whatever. So trying to marry those two, because I think if we're going to have a some kind of evolution now, human wise, it's going to have no one, we're not going to get rid of the mind. We're too in the mind now, and people are too proud of what they've achieved with their minds. But I'd say, nor are we going to go back to just pure God and spirituality. I just think people are, they've been too let down by that, and it's too, and besides, it's too up there. We are of the earth as well. So I like the idea that we're joining, we're kind of bridging things. So bridging heaven and earth. How do we do that? Because I know, maybe you're the same, when you go to some of the wellness circles, some people are so hippy dippy about it that it kind of puts me off sometimes. And I just think, God, they're gone. They're not with us here. We're here struggling. Meet us in the middle, will you, please? Um, and the same way, you've got someone who's very earthy, and you're talking to them, and it's just like talking to a machine, and they're the opposite. So there's people on two sides of that. I love people who you kind of think, and I try to be someone who's in the middle, because I think that, to me, that's my sweet spot, is not losing my groundedness, but playing up there as well, being open, but keeping my feet on the ground. And I suppose the other thing is, what was the other thing? Yeah, so I suppose I put that in the title, in one of the, was it the preface, meeting the heaven and earth, meeting your heart and mind. That to me is similar. There's lots of ways you can bridge. Oh, I say the dark feelings. I was thinking recently about how you've the dark and light of most feelings. You've got, your my anxiety is also my excitement. They're sisters, and usually if I'm anxious, I just kind of go, okay, hold on, look around. She's there. Excitement is there. I just have to look for her. I have to look pretty hard for her, but she's there. The same with in Ireland, like there's a lot of begrudgery, there's a lot of jealousy and envy. But the flip side of that is inspiration. Actually, you're inspired by that person. You're not jealous of that person, you're inspired by them. So that's the dark and light, if you can meet them. There was another one I thought. But you know what I mean? The two things and then joining them. That, I feel that's the kind of theme that's in there to me a bit, because I do think about that a lot, and that came in, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And I wonder, because it's so personal, and I'm sure everyone was gonna find we always talk about the same thing and completely different personally at the same time, right? And
Mm.
speaking of, any form of art comes from, inside, from the heart, from the,
Mm.
and especially poetry. So coming weaving around that, um were there any particular experiences or emotions, because you've spoken about the inspiration that comes through, but always in that creative process, it's your own journey, it's your own experiences. Were there any significant um, events or emotions or lessons that you were going through while writing that? Like, how was the journey through it? Was there anything that, maybe the biggest one, probably with every poem was, your own journey, and then the lesson, and then coming all together and, concluding in the poem. But was there anything, like emotions or something that you were going through personally?
Well, what I've discovered now in getting to know myself and the relationship to my creativity is that when I'm stressed or anxious, and I haven't caught it, I'm not aware that anxieties took me on a hot air balloon ride and taken me away from myself and my life. I'm not creative in those times, and I've noticed that now. I've finally figured that out. If I have to be calm to be creative. So what I would say to your question is, it's like the recipe, all that stuff is being cooked the whole time it's cooking. And then one day comes and you go, here's the poem. Oh, that's a poem about something that happened 17 years ago. I guess it was ready I guess it was cooked and it was ready to be birthed. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's a bit weird. But so I would say, yes, lots of things happen, but the timelines are all skewed up. I might write something about something that occurred to me, that maybe the resolution of something that happened 20, 30 years ago. And finally it's ready to, the resolution is now. Because I think timelines are crossing over, and, so I would say, and also been writing bits of things. I was telling my sister, she's like, do you write a lot? I said, Joanne, I've got shoeboxes of journals full. I've just got thousands upon thousands of little bits of writing. So this is a distillation of so much writing over the years. I never stopped. I guess I thought everyone did that, journaling and taking notes. And I thought everyone did that. I think a lot of people do that. So this is a nice little distillation. And I guess like that, I think I was, so to answer your question, yes, lots of things happened to me. Stressful things, happy things. But I think I got to know myself well enough to become, I feel like aligned is a good word, kind of got aligned. I got to know myself as best I could. And then the good stuff happens. When you know yourself well, you know what makes you tick, you know how your weird little machine works. So that button goes there, that button does that. And then you can work. I know now I need to work on getting calm to do anything and to be joyful. And then the stuff happens. And all the while, your creativity is cooking something up. Could be a picture, could be a poem, could be a book, could be you're going to open a school, whatever, a million different things. And hopefully you get to a good place in yourself, and then the thing comes up. I would love to see a world where that's happening. Everyone's making stuff. Yeah.
I love that description of, the creative process, and how, how it can be literally being formulated and cooked and marinating for years, and then you distill it. And so with that, sort of just wondering whether, because you're so productive, and there's you've got a lot coming through you with all these journals and stuff. Did you have to be quite systematic in your writing? I know you described how they were almost given to you, these poems, through by source or goddess or whatever. Was there a ritual or a process that you used to stick to write them, to bring them through, or did it just sort of flow?
I always have to stop laughing really hard when people ask me that, because I'm the most undisciplined person ever. I'm trying to be better at that, because I do think you have to show up at your piano or your desk. So yeah, no, this was so not disciplined at all. This was came like a torrent, like a tidal wave. It was really fun, actually, to because I've always wanted that. I mean, I've been stuck for so long. I write songs too, and I've spent so many hours. I can't tell you guys how many hours I've spent trying to write a song, just pain, just trying to pull the idea. Now I know the idea was not ready yet. Now I know that, because and I think that's why people get writer's block. They're trying to force it. They might have a deadline, and I think an idea needs, just like a baby, needs to gestate. And I think forcing your ideas out when they're not ready, I think that's also what it's sad. You see it in big companies and more productivity, more results, more, more money, more everything and faster. And it's like, oh my God, that's not what ideas want at all. They just want time and they just want you to be happy and calm and then they'll come to you. So, but to answer your question, I actually am trying to be more disciplined because I do think there's the other side where you're just off and you're lazy. I've been quite lazy then and no discipline at all. So I guess it's again a balance and getting to know, okay, I want to be productive, right? I want to be productive now. I have an idea, but then I think you got to check in and go, like, there's a lovely thing called dragon dreaming, which my friend gave me. And I love this. And she says every idea has 4 stages. And the first stage is the dreaming stage. The next stage is the planning stage. Next stage is the action stage. And then is the celebration stage. And how many people honor all those in your idea? And a friend of mine he wants to do something, and I found myself saying to him, "God, your idea is in the dreaming stage," and he's just pulling it into planning and action stage. And I'm just like, I said to him, sit there and make the Taj Mahal of an idea in your mind. Make it in your mind. Enjoy it. And he kept saying, but how will I pay for it? And I need a manager and blah, blah. And I was like, that's the planning and action stage. You don't have to worry about that right now. Just enjoy your idea. Have the best fun of your life right now in the dreaming stage. And he actually got by the end, he was starting to go, okay. But so I think, yeah, it's so hard to know. I mean, I've read all the books on productivity and discipline actually, because I really was worried that I was no good at the discipline because I am very scatty. But I think if you're scatty, to also try and harness that like putting a bridle on a horse. Maybe the horse needs to run around a bit more. Like I also said to my dad recently, he says, why don't you do this? And I said, well, maybe so-and-so needs to go for more walks and get their heart broken a few more times and then come and do their creative thing. Because what are you going to write about if you're not going out and living life and having these experiences to share? People are so get something done before they've even had an experience to write about, So yeah, I think there is a discipline, but I think it's a lot more complicated than just, sitting down.
Discipline for artists can be a absolute killer. But at the same time, you did it, you published it. And
on you, Kate, and you.
So it was done. It was, we have a physical, we can buy it, we can purchase it. So first there had to be the decision as well, okay, I will publish it. And then the whole process from, you driving down and writing it, all the processes, and then the decision of, publishing. Were there any unexpected challenges or something that surprised you, because not only poems are interesting, but also your journey of, having it physically. I think that's quite interesting, to get to the point. It's done, right? Now it's a celebration time, but it's done. So were there any challenges or something that surprised you along the journey till now, from the point of writing and the whole journey through it?
This was the only thing I think I've ever done whereby there was no bad surprises. There was just one very, very great, wonderful surprise, which was Kate Rajba. That was the surprise, and just how, my God, I do love to collaborate. I wish I missed that, and I wish to do so many more collaborations with you and with other wonderful people, because when other people are good at the things you're not good at, their talent is slightly different to yours, and you can meet together and make something amazing together with your special talents. I mean, that is like it just multiplies the sort of the process of making something, which is fun anyway. But when you get to collaborate, that's just another level. So that was the best thing. I can't think of anything else. It was really flowy. Yeah.
Well, that's so beautiful, and it's no coincidence that you've come together to produce this, because it just feels so such a natural marriage of both of your talents when you're consuming it and enjoying it, and it's beautiful. So I'd love to direct the next question to both of you actually, because it'd be interesting to hear from both of you what your particular version of this is. So, is there a poem in the collection that you feel particularly connected or proud of? And both of you really, in terms of the content of the actual poetry and the visuals, and or how they mix together, and whatever comes up for you really. I'd love to hear, please.
What do you think? Kate, do you wanna?
It's interesting because when you read through them, and especially for me, illustrating them, creating art, every each one of them, they weave together, especially as you describe it at the beginning of the book, the jigsaw, and the whole life is a jigsaw. And I love this metaphor of the jigsaw, and that's what life is. And sometimes we bring more focus into one piece, sometimes into few pieces at the same time. So it's interesting how I find myself every day I'll pick a different one, or weekly or monthly. So from the very beginning, the one with the fear would be my go-to always, because it describes so, and I absolutely love the first two lines. If you don't mind, I'll read them, spoil them. And I absolutely love me and my fear. The taste of my fear was in every meal. Familiar old friend who always seemed real. It dulled all the colors and robbed all the shine behind side stage curtains, installed every line. And it goes on. And I'm like, the play of the words, I'm like, yeah, she's talking about me. Yeah. And then, the picture came up. But for now, where I am at now in my life, Bloom Fully would be my ultimate, and it describes, don't save yourself up, afraid you'll run out. Bloom fully at every chance. Bloom all the more for the promise that winter will claim back each of your flowers. Bloom all the more for this, not all the less. Absolutely loves it. I mean, okay, I am biased, okay? This is not a very good question because I'm so biased, because I'm Lynn's probably biggest fan here. I claimed that title long ago. Sorry if anyone's watching wants to be okay. But yeah, and I love how the book is quite alive, and the whole collection, I find it so like, of course we can say it about every one, but this one is like that, Nettle Tea, like the garden that, the wheel of the year, as it, comes to life, and then it blooms, and then it tears. We go through winter, and as we go through, and we have that cycle, throughout the whole year, but we have it throughout the month, we have it throughout our times of them, where we are at, even in few years times, right? Like our cycles, they're fractal, right? Smaller to the bigger ones. So I really find myself in it so much. And yeah, and every poem is like, you read something, and then I read it the other day, I'm like, oh, that's new, and I've read that line so many times, and it always brings something else. Lynn, what would your go-to be today? Your poem?
Well, it's funny, the fear one was old, and also the iceberg. I wrote one called the iceberg, and I used it today because I felt that I was worried, and I had a hard time with the doctor. My doctor's office, they're really unhappy there. I have to move. They're so unhappy, and I checked the Google reviews, and everyone's saying if something was to happen there, because there's a coldness and a darkness now that used to be there. So I was taken in by that and the stress, and I felt the ice cube forming in me again. And I thought, no, don't close up, Lynn. Just feel all this stress. And that was the little gift that the iceberg gave me, was because the iceberg is don't oh yeah, where's the iceberg? It's basically feel your feelings. Don't freeze to them because they need to move. Oh yeah. So often pain is an iceberg. Yeah. Solid, cold, moving, life freezing. Let it be water instead. You know, let the pain, feel things. And that's, I had years of numbness, and I'd go to the circles and people would say, Lynn, how's the numbness this week? Still frozen, still don't have any feelings. And I would say, actually, to answer to your previous question, I think this came these all started to download from me when I started to really practice feeling my feelings a bit more. And when I tell you my secret phrase, my secret sentence that helps me feel my feelings, if I say these words, thank you for being there. No, first of all, I have to catch that there's a feeling happening, which is actually sometimes the hardest part. You're already in it. You don't even know you've been hijacked or taken hostage by a feeling. And I go, oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I've got you. You're there, and catch it. And then I say, thank you for being there. And then it goes, oh, you're acknowledging me. Okay. Now I'll have my way with you. But then it goes. So when I learned that was a big change for me actually, because I always think like the rest of us, and especially, I mean, I think Irish women, in particular, we've been really shamed for our feelings and for our ideas and for the just the general wildness of us. We've been really put down for that and punished badly for that. So that's still in us. So it's like the hangover from, I know it's not in our generation anymore, some of the things that happened, but it's still in us. Um, so it's like a constant reminder. It's okay. I can feel this. It's all right. Thank you for being there. So that was that. Like, yeah. So the iceberg, I'd say. I was going to say a different one, but that one just popped out. So
How about you, Kirsty? What was your first impression when glancing through the pages? What would be the first impression, first theme that would come to you?
Do you know what? Thank you. Thank you both for bringing both of those up, because both of those struck me, especially the fear, but for different reasons. The fear one, very much I could, those first two lines, they draw you in. They're so visceral. I'd be like, oh my God, yeah, I can taste the fear. Oh my God. And we know, don't we, that that is the opposite of what we want to be. We want to be in that state of love. But just to name that was really powerful. But then teamed with, it's really hard to put into words, but for me, you've got to go and buy it, guys, because it's an experience. It's that they complement each other so well. So when I was reading the beautiful words, it's almost as though Kate's illustrations um brought them to life. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but uh, the blue in bloom one, for example, I was reading that just last night, and I could feel the expansion and the vitality in it, and the colors and the feeling in the illustrations just marry the two so well. So it's just very much a symbiotic kind of beautiful experience, beautiful collaboration. Yeah, honestly, it's just I can't think of. I don't think I've read a poetry book before that has had such complementary um, images in terms of not just the content, but the energy of the illustrations matches perfectly and just adds that extra dimension to the poems. I hope I'm
yeah.
making sense, and I'm sure that's what the intention was, but I don't know. This is how I've received it. It's gorgeous. So, yeah, really beautiful.
It's always like an ongoing dance in between, especially in collaborations. Always someone brings something, and then the other person. It's just like you said, Lynn. It's a flow, and for me, it was a flow as well. And for me, there is that balance between that. That's what struck me, and you as a person, because obviously, I know you a little. So is that vulnerability and strength at the same time.
Mm.
So this is something that I find quite interesting, because we would often, especially us as women, after years, which you've already mentioned, but there would be a tendency of going either to one or another extreme, trying to find the balance. And I feel like you present that balance, especially through the work, right? How did you approach that balance? And you've spoken about that already. That's your main theme, bringing the head, the universe, and the earth. But was there anything that comes to you, approaching that balance in between vulnerability and strength? Was there anything, how
Mm.
did you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, that just reminds me again of that what do you call it? Is it a duality of like maybe the dark side and the light side of the same feeling, which I'm enjoying playing with that idea now. And I think you've just named another one there, vulnerability and strength. And I think what I think is really amazing is if you go into your most scary feeling, like you usually, if you do it right and you really do it with patience and just trust your heart, trust yourself, trust everything, then you come out with the jewel of the very opposite of what you were worried about, which was, say, the thing most scared of now excites me the most. You know, I used to get I was really riddled by envy. I'd be so jealous of everyone, and oh, why can she do that and I can't? And I got really down about it. And then when I was able to flip it and go, oh my God, she's inspiring me. Then there was just like, la, the sun just shone on my envy and it was actually inspiration. And she helped me. And now when I feel that feeling come on, and it does come on, and I think, damn, she did a really good job. And I hate her. And then, but I go, no, hold on. She's doing something or she's showing me something here. And then you can still feel two things at the same time. You can feel really worried, and you can feel excited at the same time while they're sort of crossing over, aren't they? So I think what you said, the vulnerability, I think it is a strength. I know the likes of Brene Brown talk about this a lot, and my hero Elizabeth Gilbert, she talks about this a lot. She's very open and she's very vulnerable in her conversations. She does a lot of podcasts and she's just given her heart. She's just opening her heart and saying, have a look. And I think, wow, how brave is she? But actually it's very strong too, isn't it? To do that, And when I see someone do that, I think they're really strong. Like my dad cries sometimes, he's really, I just see, God, he's such a man. He's able to cry. Wow, that is so, you just feel so strong. You feel so safe in their company. To me, these things that are labeled vulnerable they're actually our strengths because we're daring to show everything. That to me is strength. And I'm trying to find the opposite of, because I've been feeling quite exposed the last week. So I'm trying to figure out what the light side of that one is yet. I haven't figured it out. It might be love, but I'm feeling really exposed. And so, yeah, I'm in the middle of figuring out some other ones now too. But I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful, and it's just naming those the light and shadow sides that we've all got inside of us. And as you described earlier, that's where the alchemy is, and that's where we're able to bring through that magic. I love that you mentioned your dad and the fact that that there's that beautiful strength in being able to express emotions, and it's so true. It's that wholeness, isn't it? It's that authenticity. It's beautiful. So, oh, thank you. So, let's have a look if we might now at the artwork. Firstly, can you tell us about how the collaboration happened between you both, and how you managed to align? Because there is such a marriage of the two. How did you align your separate creative visions? And then lastly, do you each of you have a favorite illustration? And what makes it special? So yeah, so sorry, that's a lot of little questions within a big question there. But firstly about the collaboration, please, how that happened. Fascinated.
Paige, do you wanna answer that one?
I'm like, you say it. No, you say it. No, you say it. Yeah, so from the beginning, so
I
first were the poems.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, are you talking to me?
No, because we didn't lose you. Okay, we're back. So
Yeah.
first were the poems, and so the illustrations, the artwork is based on the poems. So first was the birth of the poems, and I think it's important to mention that. Let's say when I was creating my deck of cards, first was the illustrations, and then were the words. And I think, you know, first were the poems, first were the words that went through you, Lynn, and then based on that, you know, it just flew. It just, like you said, flowing, and each one just came to life. It was just, you know, obvious. You know, it was just happening by itself. Really, would be very hard for me to choose which one would be the favorite one. I think the love one, the new love, and that was the very first illustration that I did. Okay, where is it? Let me find it. So the new love, it was kind of probably because it was the beginning for me for doing the artwork. Maybe that's why it's so significant to me. It just came, you know, flow. She just happened, and probably my new love was, you know, diving into that project, and she's very meaningful to me. And then I have to mention the cover. All of them, they came so quick and so easy, but with the cover I think it took months a total, and the birth of it, and that's beautiful, because you've mentioned that as well with the creative process. You can't force it, you can't speed it up. It's either ready to come or it's not. And you know, as artists, we're always, you know, it's always, and it's interesting when you create a painting or whatever it is, for the viewer, for the person that comes, it's already perfect as it is. But as artists, we're always, you know, maybe another dot, maybe another, you know, something. But then really to tuning into that moment, we're finished. And I think it's kind of like you were mentioning, you know, it's cooking and cooking and cooking. And I suppose is the metaphor for anything really in life, you know, either in a creative process, but anything, you know, relationships, anything really. That metaphor, I'd say it would work, you know, is just to catch that fine line, to catch that moment, you know, that with those whispers of the intuition. When is the moment, you know. The same, you know, with our psychic gifts or whatever it is, you know, to distinguish that difference. Which one is the ego that's telling us, oh, it's not good enough, it's whatever it is, and which one is the inspiration, which one is our soul that sings, or however you like to call it, the universe, the source. So yeah, so for sure the cover, it's my it's my yeah, it was concluding, I suppose, everything, you know, tying everything together, was finishing everything together. So definitely the cover. And the collaboration, like I said, I didn't expect it to become this. I thought it's going to be, you know, a few little things, but then when you start and when you just tune in and when you just flow, it's never as expected in life. Really never. I didn't expect it to get to this stage to find, and you know, to find so much joy, and it was a journey for me, you know, personally, with each one, with putting it together, with everything, you know, and our intertwining in between, you know, because it's a dance that happens all the time, and before and during and after, and again, it's like a metaphor for life, right? It's with everything, it's a constant dance. And the same as you mentioned, the light and the shadow is a constant dance, and finding that fine line. How would you describe, Lynn, the collaboration? Are you happy?
Yes, because we were also dancing together, you and me, anyway, in different ways. You know, with your beautiful circles that you do, and where we met at a random breathwork day. So yeah, it was, we had so many adventures, me and you, randomly anyway. So we had that connection. So I think that really added to it, because you got me, so you got the poems too. And so that, yeah, it was just, it's so rare, like, because you're a rare breed, Kate, and that you're not you know, you're not, you know, money driven. You're not too much in the head. You know how to be spiritual, and you're in touch with your feelings and all those things. So it meant you got, you know, how often do you get to meet someone whereby you say, do you want to do something, and they just go 1,000,000% above and beyond for you? You know, not many people, you know. So I still can't believe you did all that for me. I only dared to ask you to do 3 or 4 pictures, you know, and you did all of them. You did a picture for everyone. There's probably about 30 pictures here, you know. So talk about going above and beyond. And that really touched me. I could cry. I'm on the verge of tears, because it's so lovely. It's such a gift, you know, that you were willing to do that for me and for my little project, I suppose, but project is the wrong word. But I think you got it, and you kind of helped me to get it as well. I just thought, oh, a few poems, you know, I'll throw them out there. But you were like, no, it has to be right, you know. And you're actually really good at this stuff. And you said, let's, you know, and you didn't want to rush it either. And I maybe at some point I thought, let's try to get it for Christmas. And you said nicely, no, let's just. You knew what you wanted to do, and you said, give me that time. And I said, absolutely. I trust you completely. And so we were able, because we got each other and we got what wanted to happen. I think that was lucky. We were lucky, because I think we were lucky there, because you don't often get that when you're doing projects. Usually one person's pushing in one way and pulling in another. So it's a joy. That's what I always wanted. And I've done so many projects over the years with people, and ultimately life gets in the way, and life pulls this person that way, you know, and this person wants that, and they're unhappy about this, and then you start fighting, and so I always wanted a nice, easy collaboration where you could really focus on the fun parts and let it happen the way it wants to. And I think this might be my favorite. I think that's one of my favorites. I mean, they're all brilliant. But I love that one. Felt like you really got it. She's shipwrecked, you know. She's like, oh my God, where's home? So, sorry, that's just the alarm. And she's at sea. She's at sea, and but she's looking pretty serene now, you know. So yeah. So many amazing ones.
They are all gorgeous. And I just wanted to just pick up on something that you both mentioned, which comes through so strongly for me. It's this feeling of joy. It looks as the reader, you don't feel like it's been a struggle or a trudge or a, you know, oh God, you know, got to get up and do this today. It just, the joy just like springs off the page, and yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, it's obviously it was meant to be. It's gorgeous.
Lynn, what would you hope? Because, you know, very often when we create something, you know, it's never for us, you know, it's never about us at the end of the day. It's always, you know, for out there and for the generations. And but what would be maybe one or something that would come to you? What would you hope, you know, person reading it would get from it?
You're such a mind reader. You're such a mind reader, Kate. Hold on, let me get my water. That's so funny, because I have exactly the answer for you now. I was thinking what would be because I love Elizabeth Gilbert, as I said, and her big thing is creativity, and she wants everyone in the world to be creative. And someone said in one of her interviews, oh, but what if then people do it and everyone's just making stuff and maybe it's not good enough and blah, blah. And she says, no. The idea is you get people to, okay, I'll go back a bit. When I gave this to a few people, I got quite a few people come back to me saying that they were starting to write. And some people send me their poems and their writings and saying, I want to write now. And I thought that's what I want. That's the juice that I've been looking for my whole life, is the idea that other people want to get creative. And it's not just so that they can make money or so that they can have a hit song or some cookie cut goal that I was always raised in my groups. We're musicians, we have to get the hit and get loads of money, and that's it. It's such a it's such a small one type of, you know, expectation. Whereas what if everyone's just opening doors to their creativity, seeing what happens, like that, make the Taj Mahal in your mind, just and I thought, would be my ideal euphoria result of this, of people, you know, in general, would be, what if people like the HSE and, you know, that's our healthcare system in this country, by the way, and politicians, what if they all got it on board with, let's try get creativity into our companies, because all of a sudden then you're fixing big problems then. You know, I think creativity is the answer to a lot of big problems in the world, because everyone's closed, all the doors are closed, and they're trying to fix everything with this thing, which is only good at doing sums and making lists. That's all this is good for, really. I don't mean to be simplistic about it, but I would love when people say to me, I want to be creative now. That to me, because otherwise you're right, it's just about my ego, isn't it? Which is no good for me or them. But if it's about how it made them want to do something, then we're talking connection, we're talking collaboration, we're talking community connection, reaching people. And that's fun for me. That's so fun for me because now I'm connected to people. Whereas I wasn't before in the other work I did. Well, I was a bit, but I was doing a job. I was singing Irish songs. They weren't my songs. So it was lovely. And I'm not saying I'm not grateful for that work, but this lets me connect with other people. I know I've reached them, and that feels amazing for me. And the idea that that can spread out and other people could be inspired to be creative. My favorite compliment is when people say, I read your book and I went and started writing something or painting something. That's the best gift that an artist could have, I think, because now they're really reaching people because they're making them want to do something. So yeah, that would be my goal. Thank you for asking that.
I love that. Isn't that beautiful? That feeling of, it's almost like giving people permission, isn't it, to voice
Yes,
their
the permission slip.
creativity?
Yes, that's what Elizabeth Gilbert always says. She says, I'm handing out permission slips.
Ah,
Go and do stuff.
yes.
It's, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so how
Mm.
beautiful. And it's like, as you say, think of the potential that can spread throughout the world. So, and that connection, I love that. This is
Mm.
what we need, isn't it? More connection and yeah. Oh, beautiful. So, so cool. Um, so talking about, yeah, I guess where we are at the moment, in the world, I loved how you just spoke into the idea of um big business and corporations sort of championing creativity within their institutions, within the people within that. And I was just feeling into how different that would feel, and the fact that it just brought into mind that the phrase that you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that you created it. And it's like, oh well, actually this is the logical sort of very masculine patriarchal
Yeah.
society that we have. It can't, we can't solve it with the mind. We have to use the creative flow. So I love that. I was just really dreaming into that. So when we think about this
Mm.
world that is often dominated, Lynn, by quick content, and we look at social media and the whole sort of like 2 second attention span and all of that. What role do you think that poetry plays in today's society, in almost that the opposite of that, the savoring of when you read a poem, I feel it needs to be savored and
Mm.
ingested and allowed to sort of marinate in you. What role do you think that plays?
Yeah, I think you're right. And about slowing down. I don't know, Kate, do you have any, I feel like I want to throw it to you. Do you have any thought about that and the
Yeah,
slowing down?
for sure.
Yeah.
Anything that brings us to feelings, and we've touched upon that, I think, when we were talking about many things. I think we had the episode about the divine feminine, and I feel like this theme is keep coming back. And we always have beautiful guests, and now we have Lynn, representing, let's say, poetry, right? Because you represent loads, you're a multi-dimensional endless being, right? But let's say focusing on poetry, anything that makes us stop and feel. It's always, the contraband, like you were mentioning, the balance, right? So it's like bringing the heaven, bringing the earth. So anything that makes us stop and feel, anything that makes us, and then through feeling, diving in, exploring, the journey that we make because of it. So I'd say poetry, and I didn't really pay much attention, to poetry in the past. Of course, was always out there. I'll get inspired by other things, but I found poetry absolutely the words. They can capture, the essence. They can capture things, and it's diving into other person's heart, mind, how they view it, how they see it. So not only that we stop and we feel more, but also, you know, we get a different angle, we get a different perspective, we get a different view on aspects of our lives that may seem in a certain way, and we're really, you know, caught in one way and we don't see another path. And they're endless, always amounts of paths. So I think poetry will be the portal for it, for opening other, you know, not only to feeling but also to see more, to feel more, you know, everything really. Like I recommend, okay, and especially I recommend buying this book, okay. That would be the title of it. And to conclude our whole, because you know, always when I listen to the music, I see it as pictures, right? So we have the pictures, we have the poetry, and of course, Lynn, you're all about music as well. As I mentioned, you're multidimensional, and you know, you're all about music, and that's like a whole another story about you. That's like another big one about you. But if you were to put, you know, music or a song or a soundtrack to Nettle Tea, what vibe would it be? Would you have a song that would describe it, or or a vibe,
Oh,
or
it would
you know,
have
a
to be a Joni
genre?
Mitchell song.
Hmm?
Yeah. It would, sorry, yeah, I think we lost the connection there for a sec. I'm thinking Joni Mitchell.
Mm.
Are you a fan of Joni Mitchell at all? She was one of the midwives of me. She does there's a documentary called Woman of Heart and Mind by Joni. I recommend everyone watch it because she'll draw you out. You know, she's still alive. She's the most incredible artist and really deep woman, and so honest and raw and poetic and musical at the same time. She had the poetry and the music and the beautiful chords. So I would say, yeah, this would have lovely chords. Yeah, not 1 4 5 chords, proper, lots of warm added note, luxurious Debussy style chords. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like it's a standalone. It was sort of my, I was standing firm that this was a taking a break from music thing. But actually, who knows? Maybe I'll set one of them to music one day. But I feel like it reads to me, if I have to put a soundtrack to it, a Joni Mitchell album, in terms of the chords. Yeah, because she's a great lyricist, but she's also beautiful. Her chords were like underrated, really sophisticated. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. What
I
about you?
fucking
Do
feel
you
that.
have a, yeah.
I do love Joni Mitchell, and I can kind of feel that, yeah, feel that vibe coming through. It's beautiful.
Love that.
Kate, what
And
about you? Do you?
oh, don't ask me, that's so hard. I hear for sure I hear lovely singing, and you know, and especially, you know, with every poem there will be a completely different song, but weaving the soundtrack together, I have no idea. Okay, that's too hard of a question for me. But I know in the background there will be lots of, you know, fairy whispers or birds or different sounds of
Fairies.
birds, or
Right.
a little water flowing somewhere in the background, somewhere so in the background that's almost hard to catch. But if you're like good and you really pay attention, you would catch those little nuggets. And I think those little nuggets, they weave in between the lines here as well, the magic and all the
Mm.
unseen of the world as well. Lynn,
Mm.
where can people get the book? Would you like to share where they can get it, so we all know where to go to if they would like to, because you can buy this beautiful book. I'm totally not biased, okay? I'm
So far it's only, well, at my website, linhilary.ie, but actually Mind, Body and Soul in Wicklow are also selling it. Um, and I'm thinking, yeah, like I said, I had plans to spend January trying to market it, but that got thwarted by unfortunate circumstances. So I'm not meant to market. It's just not my thing. Maybe I'll get someone to help me with that. So far, just my website, yeah, and Mind, Body and Soul in Wicklow. Beautiful shop run by the most beautiful couple, Fiona and Tom. Great supporters of local artists. You know, wonderful people. So, yeah.
And of
Yep.
course, we're going to leave the link in the show notes, but as well, if you reach out to Lynn or to myself, we'll give you the link. It's very straightforward. And thank you so much, Lynn, for sharing, because I've learned a lot today. I meant to always ask you, but yeah, there's always that discovery that never ends. So thank you so much for today. Absolute pleasure. And again, I'm not biased, of course.
Thank you, Lynn, for joining us. And thank you, Kate, as well. I mean, thank you both, because it really is a beautiful gift that the world needs this sort of beauty and magic. Absolutely. So thank you for bringing it through, both of you, and for finding each other, because I feel like there's more to come, but no pressure. But oh, and if there are any publishers, any not publishers, anyone who wants to help with the distribution of Lynn's book, want to contact her, we'll leave the details below, won't we? Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, everyone.
Thank you
That's
so much,
been
and
so
see you in the
lovely.
next one.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
now.